Hello and a very warm welcome to all our guests today and all the viewers who joined us for this YouTube live session as we celebrate Community Day. Today, in fact, yesterday on 11th, Atal Innovation Mission kick-started its Community Day celebrations. On 14th of April, on the birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's, birth anniversary, every year Atal Innovation Mission celebrates the entire month in various activities and initiatives in order to make ATL as a space and various other initiatives more inclusive for community students. Our objective has always been to encourage more and more students to use the community from the community and schools around the ATLs to use the ATLs as a space where they can experience 21st century skills and technologies and get a higher exposure towards tinkering as a concept and design thinking. With that initiative, Atal Innovation Mission so far has established over 9,500 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country, in over 70% of them being in government and government-aided schools. The idea is we invite community students to tinkering labs through the schools. So every year, all Atal Tinkering Labs, along with us, celebrate this Community Day by inviting students from the community to these labs and giving them an experience and exposure of tinkering, of the various equipments and do-it-yourself kits that are present in these labs. Today we have us and we have some students with us for sharing their experiences as well as schools, which have been playing a key role in making this space more inclusive by inviting community students, and they are instrumental in terms of driving this change. We have with us our mission director, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, and we have a special guest with us from UNICEF. We have Dwala, who is the chief of Generation Unit Yuva Partnerships and Youth Development at UNICEF. Thank you so much, all the students, teacher, principal from DPS Nacharam and from UNICEF for this session. We have a fireside chat between Dr. Chintan and Ms. Parka, and we'll also have teachers and mentors from the community and ATL schools to share their journey with us. We'll hand over to you, Dr. Chintan, for your opening remarks and then chat. Thank you.
Deepali, thank you. And greetings, everybody. Students.
Over to you, Dr. Chintan, for your opening remarks.
Okay, can you all hear me? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Greetings, everybody. Students, teachers, mentors, of course, our esteemed guest, Dwarka, and the ATL team that worked hard to put this, that every year works hard to put the Community Day and the whole month worth of celebration around it together. Again, I actually always have a mixed feeling on Community Days because on one hand, no amount of work done to simulate communities is enough. On the other hand, the need to highlight or underscore community days tells us that we still need to do community days or a month in order for being inclusive, right? On the day we would have a completely inclusive society, we will not need a separate celebration for it. So here we are. So this year's Community Day celebration, I was thinking about in the context of Dr. Ambedkar's birthday, all of us know from our history lessons the importance of his work in terms of anchoring the Constitution of India document so ably. But incidentally, the way our history gets taught, we don't really learn about people's deeper contributions and work because there's just less bandwidth to really go into everybody's contributions of all of these stalwarts. But I will share with you that I learned about Ambedkar's work much, much later in my life when I started to get interested in his writings and so on. But uh, I was blown away by his how erudite he was in his observations, his articulation, and in really bringing the arguments about what is it to include a community, those arguments to fore. So I invite any and all of you to read Ambedkar's work, because this is, if there is a champion in our history who speaks to the idea of inclusion of communities, there is no better champion than Dr. Ambedkar. So I'm really delighted that we are celebrating his birthday, and this event happens around that time. Today, as Dipali said, we're going to talk we're going to hear from students and teachers who have about their experiences. As many of you know, we now have a platform of something close to 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs. One question, of course, is that enough? Is that a good number? Is that a high number? Is that not yet a high number? I think the one answer is that we have 260,000 schools, and so this is not yet a high number, right? So this is the reason we have to do community months, so that this infrastructure that has been created through the work of Government of India is available to more and more communities or more and more students, not only to those who happen to have a tinkering lab in their school, but also those students who don't have the luxury of having a tinkering lab in their school, right? And again, as I said, when we will get this right, every day of the year would be a community day, because these labs will be open to communities all year round. That's where we are trying to get to. Now, the other vision that I had, it's been 75 years since India got its independence from the colonial rule. This year, as you know, we are celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So there also, it just occurred to me that see the issue of access or equitable access, whether everybody has equal access or not, it's a very complex issue in the societal setting, right? There are many, many reasons why access can be unequal. But at least within the ATL, which is a much more controlled space, right? ATL is not the society; it's a laboratory. The L stands for laboratory, and a laboratory. The difference between the society and the laboratory is that in laboratory things are much more controlled, right? So can we, at least within the ATL environment, pledge to make it equal access, right? That's the pledge we have to take today on this community day. So I think we have a great champion today with us to talk about her journey and her work with communities, not only in India, but in many parts of the world. This is Dwarka Sriram. Dwarka is the chief of Generation Unlimited or YUVA program, the Youth Development Partnership at UNICEF India. Dwarka has lived and worked in many different nations. I will not steal her thunder by reading the list, uh, but we'll give her more time to just talk about her journey. Welcome, Dwarka, and we'd love to hear what brought you here. Where
Thank you.
all have you been?
Thank you so much, Chintan, and really a pleasure being on a session with you, but also with some young people and support system in terms of teachers and principals as well. I have been in India for last 6.5 years, but prior to that, I'm from Sri Lanka. So I have started my journey with UNHCR in Sri Lanka, then went to Australia for a fellowship, moved to Afghanistan for emergency response work, and then in West Africa in Sierra Leone and Senegal. So that's where my journey has been, and I'm really excited to talk about the work that we are doing with and for young people, because that's the most exciting part of my work.
So, wow, that's amazing that you've been across all of these nations and continents. Is there a common thread that you see with these young people when it comes to solving very difficult challenges, overcoming barriers, and so on?
Sure. I think, as I said, across states and countries, when I've interacted with young people, they have shared their hopes and dreams, right? But they have also shared at the same time their fears and challenges, especially now during the crisis. They've asked questions about, will they get the education they need? Are they learning the right skills? Can they find a job? What are the opportunities out there? How can they find them? We have more than 350 million young people in India, and meeting their needs is a big challenge, but it's also a big opportunity. In my work experience across India, but especially from the most marginalized section as well, I've seen adolescents and youth have really been driving the change, whether it's in taking the lead in tackling the climate change, improving the health and education, or defending human rights. They are ones who are catalyzing this. Our work with young people have shown that they really want to be engaged citizens, and they want the skills and opportunities for economic and social development as well. They don't want to be on pre-decided careers, trajectories, and they want to forge their own pathways. So while these are the opportunities that are out there, they also want to make a difference, and I think that's something that we are working towards as Yuva, where we are collaborating with young people, with private sector, with government, UN agencies, and young people, where we are bringing all these different stakeholders to create that change, and really focus on initiatives that are relevant for young people, whether it's in terms of learning, skilling, career guidance, job connect, civic engagement, seeing how we can really support them in that whole process. Two learnings that I've had in this whole journey has been that we need to be dynamic and innovative to face these new challenges and also old problems, right, that are existing for us during this pandemic. And another key learning is that we can't do this alone. Just as UNICEF or other innovations mission, we are not able to solve for it. We need to really look at what are some of the best practices, learn as failures, collaborate with young people and hear from them in terms of how we can solve for it together. So I think these are things that I have learned and some reflections from my experience with young people.
Oh, that's great. Now for Yuva, what are the ways? Give us some examples of the ways in which Yuva collaborates with young people. Um,
Sure. I can give you a few examples. One is that we have something called Young People's Action Team. So we wanted to really make a difference in terms of how we engage with young people. So we came up with this as a governance mechanism. They're not in just as a separate body. They're part of our board. They're part of the leaders' council and the task forces and working groups. They have a seat at the decision-making table with the private sector, with the government, with civil society leaders and UN agencies. So we are making sure that they are heard, there's space for them, that they feel safe, and how we are really incorporating their ideas and suggestions. They're also engaging with us in terms of co-creating some of the solutions and innovations as well. So, for example, engaging the most marginalized. We are ensuring that some of the low-tech and no-tech solutions are reaching the more marginalized populations. They've given feedback on how these solutions can be improved. Some of the work in terms of a chatbot we have created, they come back with feedback saying that young people with disabilities are not able to engage with it more interactively. So how can we really improve upon that? That's just one example. We're also engaging with them in many other forms as well. Whenever we are looking at piloting any initiatives, we really look at focus group discussions and surveys to find out what are the challenges they're looking at, but also what are some of the solutions that they can really come up with and work on it. So these are some interesting ways of how we have been really engaging with young people, not just at the governance level, but also in terms of operationalizing some of this work. And even as recent as this week, we have events with Ministry of Panchayati Raj. We are ensuring that young people's voices are being heard. So in any event, any activity that we are doing, we are not doing tokenism. We are ensuring that their voices are being heard in all these activities.
Oh, that's so. That brings one more question to my mind. So all of these all of these activities that you have engaged young people in, have there been some surprises for you, pleasant surprises as to, once you involve them, what kind of things that you didn't expect came about?
To be frank, I'm always pleasantly surprised because, the suggestions and solutions, the out of the box thinking um, are immense. And I think this is something that as I said, I'm really inspired to work with young people. Things that I thought were problems, the things that I thought were challenges, they come up with really relevant solutions because they are the ones who are living those realities. They are able to come up with suggestions that makes a difference from them and their peers and their networks. So I think this is what I have really felt where, they're able to come up with these out of the box thinkings. And some examples I can say, when we were engaging with children in living in institutional care without parental support, they came and formed an alliance or a network called the Aftercare Leavers, the Care Leavers Network. They came up with a charter of demands in terms of what kind of support they need from the government, but also from private sector and various stakeholders. So we organized and facilitated and played a more supportive role, but they are the ones who led that action and came up with these suggestions and ideas as well. The second is in terms of when we were running some of these challenges together with Adal Innovations Mission as well last year, and the year before during COVID-19, it was fascinating in terms of some of the ideas. As I said, they're the ones who are living these realities. Um, one of the ones who won the award was Education on Air. And they, of two 14-year-olds at that point in time, came up with a suggestion of how the curriculum can be incorporated into capsules in radios in local languages for reaching the most marginalized communities. And with the grant that they won, now they have scaled up, they have the studio of their own and been able to inspire. So many stories in Telangana, in Gujarat, in Assam, where you go, they are the ones who are coming up with it. And most of them, they are experiencing it. They're asking their families, they're asking their communities, they're asking their friends in terms of what are the problems and issues they have and how can we solve them together and coming up with ideas that involves technology to some extent, but they're also not necessarily involving technologies, but looking at out of the box thinking around it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, time and again, we have learned that policy agendas emerge when uh, relevant stakeholders are at the table. We have seen that with women in how, things that matter to them emerge at panchayat level when they become part of panchayat. Similarly, I think with young people, as you engage them in the discourse, how these different ideas and important sort of policy matters get nudged in the direction that they consider important. So let me let me see. In the interest of time, I'm probably are we there? Do we have a little more time with Dwarka?
We have some more time.
We have some more time. Okay, that's great. Well, so tell us, Dwarka, what has motivated you to take this journey that you are taking?
I think I have to say that it is the lived experience. And I'm bringing this example and interaction I had 2 weeks ago, actually, with the Young People's Action team that we work with. And I think there's a little bit of disturbance. Can you hear me, Chintan?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you fine. Yeah.
All right. As I said, it's about the lived experience. And during my interactions with the Young People's Action team recently, they were asking me, what is it that motivated me?
Joy.
Okay, I think it's Deepali's issue. But anyway, let me continue. So I was a young person. I was a 17-year-old when I actually got motivated to work in this field. I come from a country that had faced 30 years of war, and I saw how it was impacting, the community at large. And I really wanted to make a difference. I started off with a small initiative in terms of supporting other fellow young people in terms of their learning and education. But I realized that if I also wanted to make a difference, I need to be, part of a system that can bring about that change. And I was very fortunate in terms of I was able to join the UN system at a young age. And this is my belief that even now, when I'm working with UNICEF and Yuva, I'm ensuring that as the person who grew up in the system, that I'm encouraging more and more young leaders to join that journey as well. So really supporting that process would be critical for us as we move forward.
Yeah, and so when young people ask you for advice, what do you tell them about their own journeys?
I really think that you need to make mistakes, you need to fail, and you need to learn from them. And I think that's something that's going to be experience for all of us. And as you asked me, Chintan, in terms of like what is it that motivated me, that has been it. It's not so much about the success, but it has been about each of those experiences has been a learning, both positive and negative. And how do you move from that has been critical. And the shape of how or where I am now, it's based on that, and that's the learning I would share with all the young people as well. Keep failing and keep dreaming to get there.
Well, wonderful. Well, let's say a big thank you to Dwarka for her leadership, global leadership in working with young people in many different nations to help them realize their dreams, move forward, and as she just said, don't worry about your failures. It doesn't matter that you fell. What matters is did you get up or not? So thank you very much, Dwarka, and back to you, Deepali.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dwarka and Dr. Chintan. That was indeed enjoyable to really hear about your experiences and to hear about how UNICEF has been working with the communities at large and enabling youth. That is the whole idea, and that's how AIM and UNICEF also have collaborated on various initiatives in this direction. Now let's move on to some of our community students join us today to hear about their experiences and how they've utilized the ATL space to give life. Let me call upon Ayush Bansali, who's joining us today for sharing his experience of his innovation journey and his life space. To Ayush, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ayush Bhansali, and I'm currently in class 12th right now in TPS Greater Noida. My journey started in class 6th when I made my first project, which was a vacuum cleaner for a best out of waste competition. That was in TPS RK Puram. And from that time, my journey started. In class 7th, I made a radio-controlled aeroplane. And over the years, I've created many robots, like a line follower robot, a war robot, a hovercraft, and even recently a 5 degree of freedom robotic arm, and even an actual drone. I even have it here with me. This is the drone that I created. And I've also participated in multiple competitions over the years, namely one of the which was I got awarded by the President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovind. The other one was the Dr. C. Raman competition, wherein I bagged the first prize at the Panchvati, which was the old house of Dr. C. Raman. Over the years, I've also converted my room into an actual science lab. So I've many of the tools there, and even on my birthday, I used to get tools like saws, pliers, electric soldering irons, etc. Instead of gifts. So this was my journey. And over the years, I've also conducted a few workshops to teach my peers and neighbors around what I have been interested in for so many years. I've also been interested in problem solving daily problems, and finding innovative solutions and how we can address those problems. And one major problem which I faced in this lockdown was of bad posture. Being in front of the screen for a long duration caused a lot of problems and even caused back pain and neck pain. So I created a small posture monitoring device. This actively monitors your posture and can send the data to your mobile app. And it can also help you better your posture over time. I am also getting a patent on this currently. I've also created this device and an app accompanying it, and I also have one patent for my earlier project. So this was my journey of ATL. I came across ATL with my teammate, and therein I submitted this wearable posture device. We worked on this wearable posture device for around a year. We constructed the whole app from scratch in JavaScript. We learned how to solder, 3D design every aspect of the device, the coding of this, and as well as the app. We learned a lot, and the most important thing that we learned was teamwork, how we can communicate between our peers, and how we can work together to create such device.
Very well done. Thank you so much, Ayush, for sharing your experience with us. And also in terms of the skills that you learned. Great job in terms of taking the initiative. Great job in terms of creating. And, I missed to mention this earlier, but Ayush as well as Rajvi, who joined us today, the community students, they are part of the top 300 teams of ATL Marathon in the previous years. And this is how far their journey has gone, not just learning skills, not just access to an ATL, but also participating in our flagship competition, which is the ATL Marathon. And going on to becoming one of the top 300 winning teams. And of course, the journey continues with many other initiatives and platforms that one gets once you're a part of the marathon winning teams. So thank you for sharing that with us, Ayush. Let me invite Rajvi now to share about her experience and journey of innovating and how ATL has helped her achieve that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening to all the honorable members present here. I am Rajvi Gupta from Pallavi Model School, Bodupal, mentored by Madhuri ma'am, in collaboration with Atal Tinkering Labs, Delhi Public School Nacharam, mentored by Subhash sir. I am honored to be given this opportunity to share my journey with Atal with all of you. So, the era that we live in today is the era of entrepreneurship. India has given rise to so many successful entrepreneurs. In this era, it is required to encourage the youth of the country to develop skill set and give wings to their creativity. This is exactly what Atal Innovation has done. My two teammates and me, we had developed an app which was related to sustainable agriculture. We had chosen this theme because India, being an agricultural economy, the majority of its population is practicing agriculture. But still we see that the farmers who lack education and knowledge, they are unable to make the efficient use of their farm. Many times they use high amount of fertilizers and pesticides which can not only degrade the land but also can damage the crops. So we looked at this problem and we came up with this solution to develop this app named AgriSimplify. This app suggests the farmers the appropriate amount of pesticides, fertilizers, and also the appropriate amount of water to be used for irrigation according to the soil type, crop type, and other environmental conditions. Our application also has a separate section for links where the farmers can buy agricultural inputs. We also encourage them to do organic farming by suggesting them procedures to make natural manures at home. Because of many farmers are uneducated, so we have tried to incorporate as much as animations and visual possible in our application. We have also added information regarding temperature, minimum support price of the crop, and government schemes available for farmers. Not only farmers, but we are also aiming at home gardening to reach wider audience. For the later stages, we have planned to add a system where crop diseases can be detected by scanning the crops. So, this was our whole innovative journey. And the idea that we developed, we are aiming at sustainable development goal number 2, that is zero hunger and sustainable agriculture. And I believe definitely a person can leverage the community to become a better problem solver. To become a problem solver, we have to look for problems in our society. A person has to critically look at the society and analyze the problems. And then, by using his or her knowledge, he or she should come up with a solution. Even while developing our prototype, we had talked with a lot of farmers to identify the situation, to understand, and to identify the problems. And then we came up with the solution. So, this is how the society can also help a person to become a better problem solver. At last, I would really like to thank ATL for giving me this opportunity to participate, but not only for participation, but also for the training that was given to us about the business model and how can we make our prototype into a business startup. For various aspiring entrepreneurs like me, this was a really golden opportunity. It has given me not only a lot of information, but also an experience which I can use to open a successful startup in the future as well. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raju. It is interesting to note how you created these innovations in Excel. Let me now request Miss Sunita Rao, who is principal DPS Nacharam. And let me add before that that schools have a very important role to play in terms of extending the ATL space to the community students. And without them, this is not feasible and not possible. So I want to really call out to all other tinkering labs to take this as an inspiration, as a great example of a school opening up and making the ATL space accessible to students from other schools who do not have an ATL lab. And like Dr. Chintan mentioned, we are really touching the tip of the iceberg with 10,000 schools, and there are many more schools who don't have an ATL lab as of now. And for that, we request all these other schools to extend it as much as possible to the students from around your. And with that, let me invite Ms. Sunita Rao, who is principal of DPS Nacharam and who's played an instrumental role in such an initiative in extending the ATL space to community students. And let's hear about the initiatives you've taken, ma'am, in terms of opening up the space to the students around, and how has your experience been in terms of opening it to community students?
Thank you so much, and respected ATL Mission Director. We're so happy to be on board today as a model ATL school. I and the mentor, Mr. Subhash. It's been an exciting journey, and so proud of the fact that Rajvi has presented herself today. She's come to this platform, and we're so happy to know that not just DPS students, but the students of our community schools have come to a level of attainment and innovation that they're so proudly, they're so proud to be presenting themselves and their work and idea here on this platform. Congratulations, Rajvi. On that note, I must tell you from day one, as we actually became an ATL school and also understood the spirit with which it was handed over to us, that we, part of the ATL school plan was also to extend to community. So I and Mr. Subhash, we started drawing plans as to how do we extend. So I in fact, with a school with 8,000 students at DPS in one campus, I had to design time for the ATL to be free for the community schools. So we said that all Thursdays we keep it open, and as per convenience on certain Saturdays also I kept it open for the community schools. And then 7 schools came into our fold, and we did a lot of communication to the 7 schools in terms of telling them what is on and how we can receive a batch of students each time for the training. So there was school specific coming into the ATL lab to get a feel of what happens here, just to get to understand what a child does in an ATL lab. So there were introductory sessions conducted over the years from 2018 onwards. And further to that, we did invite I must say, a specific batch of students from the community schools for guest lectures. We were happy that you've always teamed us with the best of industries, whether it's Dell or any other. And whenever the mentors visited our schools, we didn't hold it to ourselves. It's not just our DPS school children benefiting from the mentors' visit to our ATL lab. We invited representative students from community schools also to be there, and that made a difference. And further to that, the ATL Community Day itself, the years that we were able to actually make it possible in the physical mode and later on the virtual mode. We had the children coming in and participate in various competitions, actually work with the kids here. And we had teamed up DPS students with the community school children. So they were all groups beautifully led. There was peer leadership and peer mentoring systems on. And we had to see to believe the way IoT solutions came up at the end of the community days. And they were so excited to go back to their schools and expand that kind of a thinking concept. I strongly feel ATL actually leads to ideation. The very fact that children in school level have never thought of researching, exploring, or ideating. ATL is actually made it possible. And we are excited with the scope that it holds, because children as young as 13 to 17-year-old children are able to think beyond the classroom and the syllabus and the curriculum, and they're able to think for themselves. They're thinking big, and bringing in solutions and taking confidence to come and tell me, ma'am. They'll hold a cell and say, ma'am, I've created this app for this. Sometimes, trust me, I'm not as tech savvy as my children in school. And I feel so excited that, oh my, look at it. I'm going to be learning from the Zen learners of our, this generation today. And the design thinking approach, we had other members also come in for supporting. Apart from the ATL mentors, we had Bits Pilani, the team coming in to do a design thinking work here. We teamed up with IIT, had brought in a group work on a Sunday, then the children participated in that. I think we've actually initiated a seed in our children, and we're so happy. Beyond that, we are extremely happy that we also brought in a Zilla Parishad school into our fold. And the children of the Zilla Parishad school, over the few visits to our school and personal mentoring from the team from our school, they actually proposed a Bluetooth door lock system using a normal phone. And that was published in the newspaper. You should see the kind of pride that the children of this Zilla Parishad school took when they were mentored like this. And beyond that, when it comes to came to community schools, Rajvi is one example and standing example rather. The post-COVID, it so happened that there was no constraint about time. No longer we had to wait for the working hours of the school to invite children. The virtual mode was on, and thanks to our ATL team and mentors, that we extended the hours beyond school, late evening, late night, as per the convenience of children, and they started working with the mentors. I think that's another fact about technology, that there are no limits to training and taking up this project. So we're so excited that post-COVID technology has become part and parcel of the each child's, because teachers used to use it, but I don't think the learner side, they use technology to that extent, but today they are able to use it. And I think the mentoring system of ATL lab can also transfer itself from a physical lab to that of a technology mode platform, adding value to children so that they get more mentoring, space and time spent on their thoughts. They can share their ideas and they can get the mentor to speak to them at length and, make it into a possible submission the way it has happened with many a student of our community schools. Thank you so much. I'm indebted to Atal Mission for even making DPS Nacharam and hence the community schools a part of ATL. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your experience. And I'm sure a lot of schools will learn from this in terms of how you've taken the initiatives to include community students as part of the ATL labs. And in terms of the various approaches you've taken towards doing that, I really like the idea of dedicating a day towards it. While Atal Innovation Mission does that through the community day, but it's one day in a year, but you can actually do that every week of the year, and you can do that on most days. So this is a great example for schools to learn from and to start making it more accessible to community students, because as you get more and more students together, the possibilities are limitless. The kind of innovations and thinking and ideas that come together, you'll be surprised when you have across community, like ma'am shared, different schools coming together, students from different schools, and the creations are beyond expectation and the innovations are beyond expectations. So it's a win-win, and it's a great learning for both sides, the school, the parent ATL school, as well as the sister schools around the main ATL school. So thank you, ma'am. And with that, let me invite Mr. Subhash, who's the ATL in charge of DPS Nacharam, and who's also played a very instrumental role, because we all know without the teacher's guidance and without the role of a mentor, the students may not be able to achieve what they've achieved. It's the guidance that you've provided. Share with us, Mr. Subhash, how do you motivate these students, especially the students coming from community, for them to not just experience an ATL lab by visiting one, but also to be engaged enough to come back, to want to create something along with the student teams. What different are you doing, and share with other teachers how they can also do it.
Sure, sure. Very good evening, one and all present here. So, I just want to share my personal experience with community students when we got sanctioned about the ATL school thing. So, when we started our ATL classes and all, then this time when we first conducted our ATL community day in the year 2018, we visited some nearby government school. So the time we interacted with some students, government school students, and from those students, one student, his name is Rahul. He came up and he has shown is very enthusiastic and with his knowledge. As you know, like the school it is in remote area and they don't have those many resources that we have. So from the school, he came up and he told, like, sir, I have done something which is very unique. So I have done some Bluetooth door lock. He has shown a phone. You won't believe it is a just rubber band. The huge he glued it, and so it's very normal phone. So with that, he was able to develop that particular device and that particular prototype. So then it came into my mind, and then we brought them, all the students. We sent our school bus. I shared all those details with my principal ma'am, and immediately she gave the approval for us to bring those students to our school. Immediately we sent a bus along with our teachers and everyone. Then they came to our campus, and slowly we explained everything. And what we felt is that the communication, and they know only the regional language, that is Telugu, and they're not able to speak in English. They are not able to understand few words in English, so they face little problem. Then we understood their problem, and then we interacted with our students, the DPS Nacharam students, and we shortlisted some students who knows the regional language, and we explained them. We teamed up with those students, with those community students. So then they started explaining that their peer learning happened. So our DPS Nacharam students, they explained about Atal Tinkering Lab, and they explained about all the components and sensors and the boards in the regional language to those students, the community students. Then they slowly started explaining about their experiences, and they started sharing their opinions and their thought process. Everything slowly they started explaining about their ideas and everything. So initially they felt little shy to interact with our teachers and mentors. So as a different environment. So whenever they started interacting with our students in their own regional language, they felt very happy. After conducting around 3 sessions, they felt very happy, and they started doing some projects, and started coming up with different ideas and initiatives. So slowly we started the journey. So we started with one school. Now we were able to cater to 7 schools, ma'am. So that's where we started, and this is where we expanded our services to all other sister concern schools through our ATL lab. And I must say thank you to AIM and Niti Aayog for providing such a great platform to bring different set of students on one platform. That's all for a personal experience from my side, ma'am. So
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Subhash, and thank you for guiding students beyond ATL schools also. We should actually be thanking DPS Nacharam and other such schools. This is one such example, but we do know there are many more such schools which are playing that role in terms of being more inclusive. And we hope there are many, many more after this YouTube live, with that inspiration and hearing how you've actually implemented it. Regional language does play a very important role, needless to say, in terms of connecting them. And peer-to-peer learning, another important aspect. Students, it's a call out to all ATL students also. Please reach out to students around you in other schools. Please reach out to your friends and share with them the lab and expand that beyond your school group as well. With that, let me request Dr. Chintan and Ms. Dwarka if they would like to ask any questions or interact with the students. And after that, we'll close the session. Dr. Chintan and Ms. Dwarka, any closing thoughts, remarks for the students and our teacher and principal from DPS?
Yeah, no, I think this is very, it's very heartwarming to see that how they've opened up, and there's real participation and output from students, communities that are around these schools. So I was very curious about Rajvi's work. Rajvi, have you shown it to any farmers after you built this?
Sir, actually, we have discussed the problem with the farmers, and also we have discussed the solution. But the app which it was making, sir, it is not truly developed, completely developed. The prototype we have showed to the farmers.
Yeah.
The
Will it
prototype
be
of
in
the
English?
application.
Will it be in English, or will it be?
Sir, actually, at the first stage, we are planning to build it in English, but at the later stages, we will be using natural language processing to make it available in all the regional languages as well.
I see. I see. And so when do you expect it to finish?
Actually, sir, we have developed the basic part of the application, and I think it will take 3 more months to complete the total application.
How many of you are doing it?
Sir, I have 2 more teammates. One of my classmate, Palak Bharadwaj from my own school, and Nitya from Delhi Public School, Nacharam.
And you are all coding it? Are you guys
So actually, we all three are working mutually. We have divided the work mutually. So we all three of us are inputting something into the application.
Are people in your family in agriculture?
As such, no, sir, but we have some family friends who have connection with agriculture.
I see. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so impressed. I'd love to see the app once you have built it. It'd be
Yes, sir,
great.
definitely. Definitely, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Super. And then also, Ayush, were you saying that you have developed a lab at home?
Yes, sir. So over the years, I've developed an actual lab at home.
So what all does this lab have?
So it's a complete room. I can show you in just 1 minute if you want.
Very quickly, give us a 360 degrees.
ये बहुत गंदी हो रही है मुझे क्या मैं दिखाऊं उनको स्क्रीन शेयर करूंगा can I
Okay.
just share my screen right now and
No worries. I mean, if you can't show it right now, you can just describe it. What is in this lab?
so I'll just show it right now.
Okay, looks like we lost Ayush. Oh, there you are. Okay. I see. Oh, wow. Wow. You have a full lab here. This is reminding me of Thomas Edison, suddenly. That's amazing. I see. So you're building in this lab. This is inside your home. It's incredible there. And your family is okay with you doing these things. That's great. Okay, I see. Amazing, amazing. Okay, well, that's very impressive. We look forward to we look forward to serial patents from you. Thank you so much for showing us the lab. Well, I'm sure there are many more people who are doing this, but this is the first time I'm coming across it.
Thank you so much. I wasn't able to hear you just moving the laptop, so thank you.
No worries. No, congratulations. This is really very impressive.
And over the years, I've contributed some parts I got from gifts. I didn't receive any toys as gifts. I like to see flyers, tools, these kinds of gifts.
Wow. That's really amazing. That's very fascinating. So it's great to meet you both.
Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to hear the principal ma'am and Subhash ji for all your contributions. This is very inspiring indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today for this session, to all our guests, including Ms. Dwarka from UNICEF, Dr. Chintan, the ATL students, Rajvi and Ayush, Mr. Subhash, ATL in charge from DPS Nacharam, and Principal DPS Nacharam, Ms. Sunita. Thank you so much for joining us for this session today, and all our viewers for joining us for this YouTube Live. With this, we close the session, but we hope that all ATL schools will be celebrating Community Day by inviting schools around them for Community Day celebration through the month of April, but also throughout the year. This is one such initiative that AIM does in terms of facilitating inclusiveness But our journey continues towards making this an everyday phenomena, like Dr. Chintan mentioned. Let's not have a day for it, but we'll be a real winner in it if we don't have to design or facilitate it over one day, but it becomes a way of life for us. So we hope to get there soon with all your contributions and efforts as a joint community effort from all Atal Labs, all teachers, mentors, students, and principals towards this initiative. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a good week ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.